Getting you on that later. Because enough. I want. Everything good?
Glasses? Oh, yeah.
New glasses.
No.
Just say the budget. No, I can rely a lot. Veronica, but it's beautiful.
Really? Yeah.
That's out of the AC unit up there. The house up there? The house up there. They went underneath the house. Bit through the dog. She came up and she was up there by herself. You got so scared she heard something inside. Oh my. Oh, okay. All right. Guys, let's call gonna call together the town commission final budget hearing, September 24th, 2024, and we'll call that to order. And Elise, do you need to do a roll call or anything? Or are we good?
No, we'll do it in regulars.
Okay, great. All right. So first item on this agenda is the millage and budget resolutions. And I know Gabby is going to present for us. So Gabby, you want to do this one first?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Gabby, the planning instructor here at Oakland. We're here for the final budget hearing regarding the budget for fiscal year 2025. The purpose of this hearing is to present to the town commission and the residents the proposed final millage, the rollback rate, and the final budget changes. I will begin with the presentation of the millage rate and the rollback rate. We will then open the floor for public comment. Town commission will then need to adopt a resolution for the millage. And then I will then present any budget changes and the final budget numbers. We will again open the floor for any public comment. Then the town commission will then need to adopt the final budgets. For the record, Elise, could you read the resolution for the millage?
Sure. So this is resolution 2024-07, a resolution of the town of Oakland, Florida, adopting a millage rate for the levy of ad valorem taxes for the town of Oakland for the fiscal year beginning on October 1, 2024 and ending on September 30th, 2025, providing for legislative findings, providing for conflict severability and an effective date. Whereas pursuant to section 200.065 Florida statute, the town commission of the town of Oakland, Florida held public hearings on September 9th, 2024 and September 24th, 2024 to consider the adoption of fiscal year millage rates for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025. And whereas under Florida law, no millage shall be levied until a resolution or ordinance has been approved by the governing body of the taxing authority, which resolution or ordinance must be approved by the taxing authority according to the procedures set forth in section 200.065 Florida statutes. And whereas section 200.065 Florida statutes requires that an ordinance or resolution levying the millage rate for ad valorem property taxes must state the millage rate to be levied and must also state the percentage by which the millage rate to be levied exceeds the rolled back rate as computed pursuant to Florida law. And whereas the town commission has duly considered the budgetary requirements of the town, has adopted a tentative budget for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025, based on a millage rate of 6.70 mils on the taxable property within the town, and has acted in accordance with the terms, provisions, and procedures contained in section 200.065 Florida statutes. And now therefore be it resolved by the town commission of the town of Oakland, Florida as follows. Section 1, the recitals are true and correct and incorporated herein by reference. Section 2, the ad valorem property tax millage rate for municipal purposes to be levied on the taxable property within the town limits in the town of Oakland, Florida during the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025 is hereby set at a rate of 6.70 mils. Section 3, the percentage by which this millage rate to be levied exceeds the rollback of 6.1584 computed pursuant to Florida law is 8.79%. And section 4, the tax collector is directed to proceed with the collection and enforcement of the taxes levied herein as authorized by law. Section 5, the town clerk is directed to forward copies of this resolution to Orange County Property Appraiser, Orange County Tax Collector, and Florida Department of Revenue. Section 6, all sections or parts of section of the town code that conflict with this resolution are repealed to the extent of such conflict. Section 7, the provisions of this resolution are deemed to be severable if any section, sentence, clause, or phrase of this resolution shall for any reason be held to be invalid or unconstitutional. Such decision shall not affect the validity of the remaining sections, sentences, clauses, and phrases of the resolution, but shall remain in effect. It being the legislative intent that this resolution shall stand, notwithstanding the validity of any part. Section 8, the resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage and adoption by the town commission of the town of Oakland, Florida.
Okay, so
Can you repeat that?
let's begin. Seven. Went through that one. Through that one. Here we go. So in June, we presented a budget on a 6.3 millage, which was our previous millage for town. The tentative budget was presented on a 6.9 millage after the decision was made to raise it to offset the fire rescue bill that we received. At the tentative budget hearing, the commission voted to reduce the millage to 6.7. The budget presented to you all today will be on that 6.7 bill, and the rollback rate will be 6.1584. So that's based on our current property value, and what we would be receiving if we didn't raise the rate, I guess. And that would be the rate that we would have to charge to receive the same ad valorem at our current property value that we got for last year, I believe. So that's what I have to present to you for the millage rate and the rollback rate. Read the resolution. Mayor, I'm going to turn it over to you so that you can open it up for public comment.
Sure. All right, thank you, Gabby. Bringing it here to the family, their comments that anybody has on this resolution or what up there with that. So we did go to 6.9, 6.3, fire sent us a letter, nice letter. 6.9 was what we thought we had to go, and then we decided that we could maybe make it work for 6.7, which is 0.4 increase to cover the fire and get it paid off. So yeah, so that would yes, that would take care of the increase in fire and pay it off instead of deferring it.
Understood. Good. No questions for me.
Goes for me. Anybody in the audience want to speak about it? No. Okay, and I'll close the public hearing.
I got one request that we make sure that whatever we communicate, that some of the notes that we have, that it goes to our public information officer.
Oh, yeah.
Tell the story.
Yeah.
To let them know where we are, why we are here.
Agreed. Okay. Oh, yes.
I wanted to play this out in layman terms. So they wanted to target 6.9.
No, they did not.
They raised their millage from 2.2 to 2.2. And that was the commission voted to raise our millage in the town to 6.9 to offset that increase.
Right.
And then we decided at that just July. I'm sorry, after doing some calculations of math.
So we did some additional budget cuts in
Right.
between our work session that we had when we adopted the budget, knowing that was going to be 6.3 when the county came back with the fire tax increase. We had to turn to find the way to try to save as much as we could. We were able to save about 200,000, which is why we're able to adopt why the commission was able to recommend the 6.7 versus the 6.9.
Then the rollback rate. If you plan that.
The rollback rate is the tax rate that we would charge this year to generate the same revenues that we're that we're collecting in this fiscal year. It's a calculation to basically say, in our budget, we budgeted this year $4.5 million. So if you take the assessed value, multiply times the lower millage rate, because the assessed values go up every year, you have to charge a lower tax rate to generate the same amount of revenues as you did in the current fiscal. So the town is collecting more revenues, and obviously in this fiscal year budget. But the rollback rate is more geared towards the current fiscal year. What would you have to charge on the new assessed value to generate the same revenues as the current fiscal year, which is obviously less?
And then you've had some income, other growth that's in offsets of that stuff.
Cost of doing business, baby.
Where did that 200,000 that you were able to cut?
Hmm.
Will we see that? How will the town?
You'll see that in your tax bill. Tax bill, instead of being 6 point, oh,
She's asking, you're asking when we went through the budget line item by line item?
We're at,
You want to know, we want to hurt, are they going to hurt? It's
but how will the town?
town.
health insurance, the town,
Yeah.
we bid out health insurance and we received about $100,000 savings there between the school and the town. We also are going to invest some of our surplus funds that we have, the small fund balance that we have, into a Florida Safe, which provides the town interest, which we have not been doing. And so that will generate in our budget an additional 70,000. And then we also eliminated a public works open position that we had in a construction sector position, but we feel that next year we should be able to not lose any of the work quality there, making that cut, because we already have one inspector and between two of the developments and bringing on Nathan. So we were able to cut an additional position. And in fact, we've cut positions since over the past year and a half, within town hall and administratively. And then some of the employees sitting here has actually taken on additional responsibilities in its place. And so we do more with less here. Obviously, if it wasn't for the fire tax increase, we would be sitting here with a 6.3, maybe even be able to reduce it.
But on the same token, if it wasn't because all the legwork the staff has been doing, our mayor, the commissioners, we brought it from 6.9 to 6.7, or our due diligence has come back, fruitful, because we didn't just sit idle and just absorb the 6.9. We fought for 2 more. Correct. Yeah, that's why we get the big bucks for it.
That's great. Working this and working with Andy and all of us together at commission, looking at it. I mean, it's some of it's tough, some of it's a no-brainer type thing, The positions that Andy mentioned that were cut, they were positions that were open, were not filled, so it wasn't somebody had to say you're out or anything like that. So that's a relief, and that's what we do not want to do. Everybody here, like he said, does double duty, wears different hats, and all of us do. I mean, all of us care. It's just one of those things that, it was unexpected and it happened and it's, there's some, and I'm sure as we go along the year here, we'll talk about options on what we can do here. So I've got some ideas I'll be presenting here the next few meetings.
And the short answer to your question, to get down to it, is nobody in town was affected by any of these cuts as far as salaries or benefits or anything. And none of the residents were affected as far as services that come out to you guys. So.
And it's,
They said somewhere on that corner of Riley and Hills on.
in fact, I mean, we were able to, the town staff we were able to get my cost of living increase well on this. So, yeah. So.
No, actually. And I digress.
Anything else, guys?
I just think the piece that, she mentioned is this different. The small increase that the residents may have on a tax bill, like less than 200.
Yeah.
To still realize to get to this.
Yeah.
Budget with a $500,000 increase. And that's, that's part of the story I want to make sure that we tell to ensure we can,
Yeah.
That's a good point. And so we did just a whiteboard exercise, just rough numbers. And we used if you were here at the last one, Gabby had it up, and we kind of did one if your house was valued at $300,000 and another if your house was valued at $500,000. How much more could your tax bill be for that? And it's, some people will say, well, that's insignificant. Some people will say, well, that's a lot of money. It's $105 to $150 more year on your stuff. You know, and then you have people in Oakland Park that, you know, last year they paid on the land only and they got a little small tax bill. And then this year they get a big tax bill because of, you know, now they're paying the house and land. And we know those houses over there are not cheap. So, you know, but they plan for it and put that money in escrow where they're good to go. But yeah, that's correct, Joseph. And it might be it might be something good for Jessica to throw up, just that quick little, you know, back a napkin. Hey, this is probably what you're looking at type thing.
Can I make a comment?
Oh, yeah.
We talked through that on the staff level. We were a little reluctant to put actual dollar amounts in there because then if somebody says, you know, they get charged a little more,
This.
they're holding us, like, you know, responsible for putting that number out there. So we were a little reluctant and left it.
Sure.
We are gonna go to ClearGov, which you'll be able to go on our website and really analyze the budget. But just a couple of numbers real quick that I think is important. The police department to have 2 officers on patrol in the town of Oakland. Our budget for the police department is 2.6 million, and the county fire and EMS services is 2.2, which is $4.8 million. The property tax is generated by all town residents, and this year's budget is 5.3. So there's $500,000 left over to pay payroll. And then of course, you get some of these smaller taxes like sales taxes and things like that from the state that you get for being a municipality. So a large majority of the services that the town receives is obviously police and fire. And then we do so much more with all of the small little revenues that we have left. So just give you an idea.
Yeah.
But the ultimate goal of the commission is to not stay at 6.7. Our goal is to start dropping it like we did before, when the ad valorem, when property taxes go up as the new neighborhoods come in. You know, that are already approved higher value. So years to come, we'll start chipping away, going back to hopefully something down there.
Yeah, that's if fire doesn't come back with another $500,000 increase.
What was that?
I said if fire doesn't come back with a $500,000.
Yeah, if they don't decide to do another increase there. Yeah, absolutely. That answer your?
Yes.
That's okay. Anyone else? No? Do we vote on this now or?
I have to make a motion.
I was gonna say, do we?
You can-
One?
Make a motion.
Okay, good.
So I'll make a motion to accept resolution 2024-07.
Okay, second. All in favor? Aye, okay. Next is resolution 2024-08.
One we
I'm gonna read this one, resolution 2024 is a lot shorter.
You know how I feel now when you give me those 5 recommendations at one.
Resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Oakland, Florida, adopting the budget for fiscal year 2024-2025, providing for legislative findings, providing for complex severability and effective date. Whereas on September 9th, 2024 and September 24th, 2024, the Town Commission of the Town of Oakland, Florida, held public hearings to consider the adoption of the budget for fiscal year 2024-2025. And whereas the Town Commission of Oakland, Florida has set forth the anticipated source of revenues and estimated appropriations for the budget for fiscal year 2024-2025 in the amount of $30,292,114 with the following breakdowns: general fund $9,838,666, utility fund $9,062,300, special revenue $5,240,676, school operations $6,150,472. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town and Commission of Oakland, Florida, that section 1, the above recitals are true and correct and are incorporated herein by reference. Section 2, the final fiscal year 2024-25 budget attached hereto as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference is hereby adopted. Section 3L sections or parts of sections of the town code that conflict with the resolution are repealed to the extent of such conflict. Section 4, the provisions of this resolution are deemed to be severable if any section, sentence, clause, or phrase of this resolution shall for any reason be held to be invalid or unconstitutional. Such decision shall not affect the validity of the remaining sections, sentences, clauses, and phrases of the resolution, but shall remain in effect, it being the legislative intent that this resolution shall stand and notwithstanding the validity of any part. Section 5, the resolution shall take effect immediately upon adoption. Your turn.
The general fund budget, as Elise said, is 9,838,606. This revenue is based on the 6.7 millage rate that was presented at the tentative meeting. Well, approved at the tentative meeting, had to make changes because originally it was at a 6.9 revenue, so those changes were made. It reflects a $200,000 beginning balance, and estimated contingencies is 59,287 for any unexpected expenses throughout the year. Everything else remains the same, no other line items for adjustment. Water fund changes. The water fund remains at 9,062,300. There was a reduction in compensation. We eliminated an additional construction inspector position. That position had not been filled in over a year. This was eliminated due to an additional payment needed for the water tank loan that was previously budgeted as an annual payment of 50,000, but was actually a biannual payment totaling 100,000. The elimination of the position covered the difference needed for the payment and allows for a contingency of 60,162 for any unexpected expenses throughout the year. Everything else remains. Impact fee fund. The impact fee fund remains at 5,240,676. There were additions to the projects. Added was an impact fee study and design/engineering for a hub streetscape. Those projects were taken out of reserves, which decreased to 3,512,076. Everything else remains the same. Oakland Avenue Charter, no changes have been made since the tentative meeting. That budget still remains the same. I will now turn it over back to the mayor for any public comment and for discussion.
Okay. Anything on this? You go back to that one little.
Which one?
Yeah, no, that's it. Sorry. Okay, anything from you guys? No, so there's contingency left over for $59,000. So if I'm not mistaken, Gabby, if something were to happen, we would only have $59,000 stuff.
I mean, the town does have reserves in the event of a catastrophic emergency, but yes, like let's say that Public Works needs a new vehicle because there's dive. We could,
Plan.
it wasn't planned, it wasn't budgeted, it would come out of contingency. Something were to happen to the AC in a building that needed to be replaced, it would come out of that contingency.
Much like a business or, your income may have taken savings, that's what we have in savings, something happens. So, there's not a lot of wiggle room in there, taking that $200,000 to transfer to help pay off. So we're not, we're made whole with the fire department and stuff, so that's what we're left with.
Yeah.
With that right now.
Yeah, after all of our expenses are paid, that's what is left over this.
And then the next one, sorry.
But we still have emergency reserve.
Sir, we do have a revolving account.
Yeah.
Um,
I would think that if it was an emergency hurricane comes through, there's a refund. It would be right insurance or whatever. Right, okay. And water fund, so they have theirs as well. Water fund's doing, I think water fund's doing pretty good.
it's,
Yeah, it has. Yeah. Okay. And there are impact fees. There's some money in the impact fees. And that's what we kind of were looking at using for the Tub Street streetscape design and engineering, that's what the impacts fees would be used for in that particular case, is to improve your roadways or your sewer lines or whatever you charge impact fees for. School impact fees, are used to help facilitate the school. In this particular instance, we had, as Andy said, we had, or Gabby said, we did 2021, I think we did a shred with GAI and they came up with a streetscape plan. So it's been 3 years, so I think it's time to start pushing that forward and let's do something with it and let's stress up our town a little bit. I don't think there's any problem with that.
We have it on paper, that streetscape plan.
It's on the board's office. So that was the pretty pictures that you saw.
Okay.
That we did for the whole town, voted on and all that. So now it's time to go and take it to that next level of engineering and figure out what we need to do. We did talk to a couple of people about it and there are some, streetscape's one thing, making it look pretty, but there's some infrastructure issues that have to be done. Not only sewer lines that could be put in while the roads are torn up, water lines could be updated, but you also have to think about storm as well. So storm runoff, curbing stuff, you can't just dump it in the on the swales like it is now. So, there's some thought that has to go into stormwater management, pond or something out there. So, but those are going to be, everybody will be involved in that. That's going to be coming up. So I'd like to get that cranked up and going on something like that. Benefits the residents, benefits the town, especially the town.
And those type of improvements were, the fund is generated from development.
Yeah,
Paid for by the developer,
Right.
basically, and as an impact piece.
right. No. Good. Anybody out there? I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah.
There, what do you normally?
Abby, do you know what we had last year or anything? What it would have been if there was, what would it have been if that Orange County hadn't hit a fire? Hit us.
Only a couple $100,000, I'd say. Last year we had about $220. But we do have a lot more expenses this year. Inflation is a big deal of it too. Not a lot of revenue came into the town. Just because, like the mayor said, a lot of the new homes haven't come on the tax roll. So we've spent a lot, but that money has come in yet. Usually takes a year or two for us to see. Hopefully in this next year, we'll see that and we'll be okay. Not the will get a little bit. But this fire rescue bill kind of came out of left field for us. Like I said, it hasn't been just a great year.
And here's the gamble for it is we had to look at was we either take that $200,000 and kind of hope nothing goes, or don't do it. And now we do have a bill of $200,000 that we got to pay off to the fire
Yeah.
departments. And that's kind of where.
That's correct. Correct. So 100%. But you had the option also that Orange County gave the town to defer the not paying it, and we could have just kept the $200,000 in our pocket for next year. But you would have to pay it. You would go along and you would pay their 1.5, let's say, or whatever the old rate was. You could defer the remaining if you wanted to, but the following year you have to pay the 2, if it's at 2, plus what you didn't pay the previous year. But it's based on valuation of the property in town. So if valuation of the property in town goes up, which it will, because everybody's house is going up in value because our small little town is a highly desirable place to live. And with these houses coming up, and that's a good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. It goes up. So then what you could have paid today, what we paid today, 200,000, if we would deferred it, it may have been up 250,000. It could have been whatever, depending on that valuation. And no one knows. I mean, no one really knows. We guess 10%, but it could go 12%. It could go, it could go down. I don't think it would go down. But that was the thinking behind saying we might as well just Band-Aid off and do it.
For to see a 10% increase. 10% these two expenses. And just continue paying fire rescue. No, not many, just hope that they don't continue to raise it. We could see a remaining reserve of approximately this year. Now, that's an estimate. Things happen, not every department, just. But this year this fiscal year that we're going into isn't looking so hot, but it looks promising.
Thank you. Yeah. 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 All right. Anybody else? Nope. Okay. Anybody else here? Okay, I guess a motion, right?
I'll make that motion to accept resolution 2024-08.
All in favor? Aye, okay. One thing I want us to think about. And I want everybody to understand, I don't think we've given up on, trying to meet with the fire department. Right, with some other alternatives. But I want us to think about, an alternative.
Absolutely.
Fire. And maybe it does not include one.
That's the point I was making a few meetings ago. And it might be way out of the box thinking, but if we don't start thinking a few years ahead.
Yeah, well, then, correct. So I think over the next few meetings, now we got past this issue, we start really seriously considering looking at other alternative sources to help us out. I think if we go into it, it's going to be, I mean, from just some projections and numbers and rough math and stuff. I mean, it will hurt a little bit in the beginning because, if you do something and it's going to cost a little bit upfront cost to get going. But in the long run, there could be a big savings over the course of 10 years or something like that.
And we do have a head start, right? We own
50%, just the police department.
That's a big start.
Yeah, so they own the other half. So you'd have to negotiate, and it's in the agreements that I've read is that you'd have to negotiate and essentially buy them out. If they decide, we have first right of refusal on that, if they decide to do that. Or we go back to them and say, hey, we're still not satisfied. Because to date, and I've asked this question and I've met with the mayor and, Mayor Demings, a nice guy, great. They have not provided me with any evidence showing this is what we charge you for services today. Now they have provided a nice call log on how many runs they do in town. I looked at that and I'm really not convinced I can't believe that number's there, but it could be. But, and when I ask for numbers, it's just town proper. It doesn't count Turnpike. It doesn't count 50. It doesn't count Deer Island or unincorporated areas in town. I would love to see an accounting or a math to say, yes, the town is getting $2 million worth of services from the county. If they could provide that and they could show the numbers and they say that, okay, you're right. But I would think that it's probably south of that number. I think in my personal opinion, just looking at it, looking at the counts and numbers. And the letter written back to me by the mayor, he said, yes. He goes, looking at your runs are a lot lower, tremendously lower than what other stations run. And it is. I know that station's always been the retirement station. You got 5 years left in your drop program, you're gonna go and retire again. So I just like as a group, to start looking at those options and stuff and.
I would see it from the business point. Although they can justify retirement station, right? We won't be there 5 years from now, but as a business point, we can also use our leverage once we have someone else bid on it too. We have neighbors, either Claremont or Winter Garden. Then once we create and they know we're creating something, then they can start, lowering down their budget or their numbers to say, maybe we can't help you because we don't want to leave, because they also have to service the rest of the unincorporated and Deer Island.
Yeah.
So how are they gonna do it without their building?
Right, so if you sit there and you say, you know, we're gonna go somewhere else, but yet is it worth the county saying, we're just gonna keep that station open to handle the 30, 40 property owners that are in unincorporated Orange County? Is it worth paying whatever the cost is to maintain that building and salaries and all that stuff? To do that. So, yeah, those are things I think we seriously need to start looking at and pushing back on. There's a nice way to do it. And I think, just meeting and talking about it, I think is the way to start the conversation with the county again. Just show us the numbers. That we can start there first is what we could do. And then go from there.
Like we could use our numbers to show Winter. What would you guys do for this?
Right, and I think that if you did that, and I know, total transparency, just the preliminary talks I've had, there would be no problem looking. I'm not speaking for them right now, but just, it would be something they would be very interested in.
There you go.
Okay. Good.
I think it's a great start looking ahead. We don't stop.
That's correct. We're gonna be, I know that, when the mayor and Oakwood have an agreement together, and I know it's a flat fee. It's a flat fee. It's like, hey, we're gonna, we'll run down and take care of you guys, and that's what it is. Or it could be something as simple as, hey, maybe for 5 years you charge us this and whatever.
So like you said, if we don't push back,
What happened with
what Joseph just said,
they can come back
every year for $500,000.
every year.
Without no one.
Right.
Because it's in the bucket with the rest of the city. As if we're the same, or we're not.
That's right.
That's it.
The town, and that's what I try to explain to them, the town can't grow. I have nowhere to go north or south. I have a lake on either side, north and south. I have a county on the west and I have a city on the east. Cannot grow. The town cannot grow. So what you're charging me, and the response is, well, it's gotta be fair to everybody. I understand that. We get that. That's the point we're trying to make. So I guess what I'm trying to say, is I'm not giving up. Just want every resident to know we're not giving up. We're gonna keep pushing it. And just drilling it and seeing what we can do. But I think there's a great solution to tell us out there. So, yeah,
There you go, Jessica. We are not giving up.
not giving up.
Big and bold.
Do you want to do this now or we do it later?
We can do this later. I mean, we can discuss it now as a part of we haven't,
That was Andy put together.
it was part of the budget discussion. It was on the regular agenda to discuss just a portion of it, but we can go ahead and discuss it now and then
Okay.
we can move it from the agenda. It's really a matter within the month commission.
Yeah.
To get our budget for the legislative budget.
Thank you, Gavin.
Discuss at some of the previous budget discussions. What I did was put together a kind of a new budget format to include some of the expenditures. We had talked about some conferences, legislative events. The town commission wanted to attend on behalf of the town itself. The town customarily has attended some chamber functions and part of some other community events. We participated in the Oakland area charter school fundraiser, which is part of the town. And then also a breakdown of some of the memberships and workshops that the town commission is associated with. And so when I did do these numbers again, we might sort of change the philosophy a little bit of go ahead and budgeting for the 5 conferences for the Florida League of Cities is kind of typically how we've done it every year. We have a discussion on who's going, who's not going. But if we budget for that and all the commissioners can participate in that conference, if they don't participate, then obviously it'll be a budget surplus a year in. So it's just a placeholder. As I said, this is just a budget, not an expenditure. Then we've had one attendee from the National League of Cities to attend the National League of Cities conference. And then we typically have attended legislative days in Tallahassee, whether we do that every year. I just know I've done that the first year I was here with the mayor, along with Commissioner McMullen.
You showed me the comments, but you didn't give me.
I didn't give them. So basically what I did was there's some line items in the budget that you have,
We get time.
the adopted budget, and we just need to kind of clean up the legislative budget itself. So what you'll see is the printout is just I've kind of eliminated all line items that the town commission hasn't used in 3 years. There's a very limited budget that you have anyways. But I'll just go over the budget real quick. It included 3,000 for compensation, which is your $50 a month for each of the 5 commissioners. A $500 transcribing services line item. What we did was we went ahead and budgeted for the conferences at 13,000. There was a savings of 13,000 for the commission health insurance, which is now 0. The legislative events would be your events such as what I have here typically would be the Taste of West Orange, which is typically the commission is invited to attend that on behalf of the chamber. The Central Florida Council, which is the Boy Scouts event, open air charter school fundraiser, and then I included a miscellaneous line item. Because there are times that the commission will go to some training, day training, and have to pay for a lunch or what have you to come out of that. An amount of $4,000. And then under memberships and workshops, you'll see the blue is $2,475, which is $2,500 less than last year. But like I said, we did rearrange and eliminate some line items to simplify this. And under your memberships and workshops, you have expenses such as the Florida League of Cities, which every city, I believe, in the state of Florida is a member of the league. At least 99% every town I've worked at for city. And then you have the Florida League of Mayors, which is another group of mayors that meet to discuss local municipal issues. We have the Tiger Bay Club, the Chamber of Commerce membership, and the Metro Plan, which Commissioner Ramos sits on. That's a DOT type a board that gets together, meets, and distributes DOT monies. And that's $2,475. So if you're really looking realistically, the budget would be $23,830 for fiscal year overall. And I guess the gist of this is if there's any other expenditures that you know of, that I guess now's the time to bring those up. And then we'll come back and insert these into a budget amendment, probably mid-year.
So I just learned this weekend that a vice mayor can go to the League of Mayors too. Cool. I just learned that past weekend.
That's new, isn't it?
From what I was told in the meeting, there's always been like that, but they just haven't promoted it. So so they changed the League of the League of Mayors leader changes, and it was brought up on Saturday. And someone asked, "Are the vice mayors being invited?" And the new mayor said yes, and she's the new president of that club says yes, and she's going to make sure she communicate that out. I didn't know.
Yeah, be good. So Andy's, I guess the exercise on this is just this stuff is the cost of doing business for a town.
Yeah.
It's what it is. And it's just, we just need to we'll set a number here. And if the number is 23, well, minus our 3,000, $20,000, if that's the number, then that's the number. If we think it needs to be more or less, then put that in there and stick to it, I guess.
Well, it's all beneficial for us.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think, I mean, I do the chamber and I have attended the Florida League of Mayors. I do a lot of online webinar stuff that you can listen to. I do think the Oakland Avenue Charter School fundraiser sponsorship is an important one because it is our school. We own the school. So that's a good one. Metro Plan helps out us a little bit on there. So that would be I'd pick on the events and the membership and workshops. The travel and registration, Florida League of Cities obviously is important. There will be those times where, I know once a year, previous mayor said it's important to go up to Tallahassee, spend some time there, meet your state representatives and do that. So that would be another one that you probably want to make sure that you're covered on.
I like all the categories here. I would just change the verbiage from the FLC and the NLC, where it says 5 attendees or 1 attendees. I think it's just money that we park there that we may have all 5 attendees for or whatnot, whatever we have that is going to save the in the budget for us for next year roll over. I wouldn't mind put the verbiage 5 attendees or 1 attendee, because you might, I've gone to the National League of Cities once with you, and I learned a lot right there, but I'm saying just use the money for encourage all of us, so even the town manager or any of the staff.
Well, it's all in that bucket anyway, Sal, so it's, the numbers are.
So the town manager and staff has their own line on their stuff.
Okay,
That they could do that, but, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Joseph, I think, is it Florida League this year here?
yeah,
Yeah. So it makes it easy,
next year.
25,
5.
Even just know that.
yeah. So,
Yeah, this year it's down south, right?
it was done, it was past August, y'all went, Sal went, but, you know, either here, if you budget and you can, everybody's close by, you know.
Okay. Personally, I'm good with it. Myself, I think it's everything we need in there myself, so it's, I think it covers everything, and I don't think there's anything missing, so.
And look, if there's something here that I think what Andy's point is too, that if there's something in here you don't use, or you say, hey, we're not gonna do Taste of West Orange. Well, then there's $450 to in there that you could figure it out. Yeah, okay, good.
That's all included in what we just did, correct, Debbie?
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
The 23 is included in,
No, it would have to be an amendment on that. So right now there's only,
it's, okay, so.
only 10 in there right now.
Is that my uncle?
If there's nothing else, we'll adjourn and wait till 7 o'clock, right? Okay. Thank you guys. 10 minutes.